What is up, folks? Today we're going to be looking at my top gear investments of 2020. And I call them investments because when I look at gear that I acquire throughout the year, I like to look back on it and see not only what is helping me have an easier, quicker workflow on set and making my life easier, making my job easier, but also what is the best return investment? What gear am I purchasing that is making me money, right? Bringing more money in. And that is what we call a return investment. So in this world of camera guys, there are two different types of people. There are hobbyists and then there are businesses, right? I am a business. I have been working full-time as a freelance cinematographer in LA for 3 years. And I don't really believe that there's a middle ground, right? You either are or you aren't. So you're a hobbyist or you're a business. And if you're interested in this kind of dialogue and breaking down and stuff, this is really what we tend to hit on every now and then over on the Dog Times Patreon. But today I just wanted to do a quick rundown on some of my top gear investments of 2020. And we're gonna start it off with an honorable mention, which is this guy right here. Now this is gonna be hard because I'm actually using it to record the audio in this video here today. But this is the Sound Devices Mix Pre 3. I've done a video on this, and the video that we did do on it, we had a professional sound mixer and friend of mine here in LA. His name is David Dadon. He gave us a full-on tutorial and breakdown how to use Sound Devices units because he owns the Mix Pre 10. I call it an honorable mention, and it's not really on the top 5 list because this is kind of one of those weird ones. I don't do audio for the jobs that I book. I always refer the client to an audio guy that I know, right? I don't like to mess with audio. I haven't operated as a one-man band, not since year one, right? So I don't like to mess with the audio. Now, there is a little caveat. If I'm doing a corporate interview thing, like a docu talking head style thing, then yeah, why not? If I'm living on sticks, yeah, I do my own audio then. But I haven't done a corporate gig like that since the top of January of 2020. So I kind of got away from corporate gigs. I don't really submit myself to those too much very often. I really invested in the Mix Pre 3 for the YouTube. So there's no mystery about it. We all know that all YouTube channels have a passive revenue stream, right? There's plenty of areas where that comes in. But with me, you know, as the channel has grown, I've been doing YouTube since December 29th of 2018, right? So I am now got 2 years in on the YouTube game. And so I was just thinking of ways to up my audio. I'm sure we're all well aware here how my audio is kind of all over the map because I'm just not an audio guy, right? So investing in the Mix Pre 3 for me was more as an investment into the YouTube. And in a way it is kind of a return investment because YouTube does have that slow passive income return, right, over time, and the YouTube channel is growing and I don't plan on stopping doing the YouTube for probably a very long time just because I enjoy this, right? I enjoy communicating with all of you. I like the feedback. I like interacting on the comments and stuff for the most part. And I certainly enjoy the Dog Times Patreon because that's like a whole nother sidecar to the YouTube. That's why I wanted to have the Mix Pre 3 as an honorable mention. Also, I really was hip on the way that it fit underneath the Komodo. And also, as I've shown here on the channel, now I have the Mix Pre 3 for any of our passion projects. So that's really cool. So I wanted to make that an honorable mention. Okay guys, after I made this entire video, I realized I left out one very important piece of kit that has been a huge return investment for me. I picked these up way back in January. I did a full video on them. It's these bad boys right here, the Nanlite Pavo tubes. These things are a game changer. I use these on every single shoot. I use them all the time. They're so versatile. You can do whatever you want with them. I did the video about the turkey sandwich light. That's just one of the many configurations you can do with these things. They don't exactly have app control unless you get the router, but I've been doing fine with just this little $30 remote. Control each of the tubes. You can put different addresses for each tube. I love using the slave cables and just linking them all together. They're just rad tubes. Complete HSI control, you know, from all the different levels. They're just really rad lights. I use them everywhere. I hang them from the ceiling with some scissor clamps. I have all the modifiers. I have the tube holder. I have the grids, the barn doors. They're my everything. I cannot stress these enough. I can't believe I left them off the list. Again, narrowing down to just 5 items is hard to do, but I couldn't necessarily let it go. So I just had to add this little bit and put these as a strong runner-up. And if you're trying to get some of these, just be forewarned, at the time of the filming of this, they are sold out everywhere in the United States. They just had a huge flash sale on them, like nationwide, but you can always pick them up from the Chinese dealer over on eBay. So now back to our regular scheduled programming. Now, number 5 on the list coming in is going to be the van, right? For those of you that follow the channel, you know that I picked up a van after I got back from working on a documentary this past summer. So I was the B-cam op on a doc, and I took that money and put that towards an investment into a van. Now, here's where the van really propelled my business, and I did a whole video on the van. Before I had the van, I had to kind of pick and choose what gear I would take from job to job. As a result of that, you're not able to take full advantage of your day rate or also it's like, man, I never felt good, because I'm operating on a very low budget scale, right? We're talking about 1 to 4 man crew tops, right? So it always bummed me out when I had to leave and go to the job and know that, I left my hazer behind, or I couldn't bring my 6 feet speed rail for the dolly, or back when I had Kinos. Sometimes some of the Kinos had to stay behind because I only had so much room in my car, right? So the van was an instant return investment because I kept booking jobs after I purchased the van, but now I'm able to up my rate because I'm able to include the entire van package if that job needs it, right? So you're talking about a huge return investment. Not only that, now I can, I'm able to go on jobs just as a gaffer with a van package. I'm able to team up with other gaffers or DPs that have gear as well, and then we can combine it, put it in my van. So I'm kind of like making money for everybody here, right? So it was a good all-arounder investment purchase. So I wanted to include that on the list. So you see where I mean, like, this is more geared for my people operating as businesses, right? And another thing I want to point out here is that if you are trying to operate as a business, the IRS can kind of put a squash to that if you are spending more than you are bringing in, right? And then they would label you as a hobbyist. So that's just how things are run in America, right? So you want to be making sure that if you are trying to be a business, you want to be making sure that every piece of gear that you are investing in is making you money back, so you don't end up in that hobbyist category. So number 4 on the list is going to be this bad boy right here. This is my Sockler FSB6 tripod head. Now I do have sticks that go with this. They are Sockler sticks. They're not the newest Flowtech carbon fiber legs, but they're the first generation of that. I believe back then they were called the SpeedTech legs. They're legs. The head is the coolest thing. Now I'm not a huge proponent of living on tripod, but when the client just must demand being on tripod, I always like to keep the pan and the tilt completely loose. And with this FSB6, it is a dream because you can completely control the dampening or the torque or whatever you want to call it of the pan and the tilt. And it's just, it can be as smooth as you want. It can be as tight as you want. It really is a dream. And even the little level bubbler on this bad boy is battery operated. So you never have to worry about that crapping out. The best part about it is the top system. It is a side load system, right? Now my Manfrotto head, the 50H or 507H, whatever it is, it was a side load system as well, but not as fine-tuned as this side load system. This one operates more like a touch and go almost. It is really, really nice. But number 4 is going to be a combo because I don't really live on tripods too much. This is a huge bonus when I add this to my Rig Wheels dolly system. So I've done a full complete video on this Rig Wheels when I first got this back in February or March, I believe. And when I combine this with my Sockler FSB6, it is a dream. So that's why number 4 is kind of a combo, the Rig Wheels dolly and the Sockler FSB6, because I use them in conjunction with each other most of the time. Even when they're like, yeah, we're just going to live on sticks here, I usually convince production to let me set up the dolly anyways because it doesn't take much to set it up. It's very easy to move around. If you haven't seen the video, I highly recommend it. It's really simple with a couple of these. I have 3 of these. I bought these at the same time too. It just goes with the whole Rig Wheels dolly system. These are Matthews dolly slider stands, and they're really just little mini combo stands, but they are a dream as well. They have Rocky Mountain legs. So yeah, the whole dolly system was a really big, strong investment for me because it upped the way my work looked. Everything was constantly moving now, without having to worry about being on a gimbal. And the beautiful thing about the real dolly system, because the Rig Wheels dolly acts much like a Dana dolly, they are almost identical. However, the Rig Wheels opens you up for a few more possibilities, a little quicker, easier to do overhead shots and things like that. And again, I've done a whole video on it. If you invest in a dolly system, you will never go back to a little tripod slider ever again. Because the weight of your rig does not matter, right? And it's just, you can go way further, as much track and as big of a truck that you have to haul as long of track you want, and however many, combo stands you have, it's up to your heart's desire. So it's really awesome. It's a strong investment. Now again, this is an investment that would be more fine-tuned towards people that are focusing on narrative or commercial work, which I do, right? Which, I mean, it's not really for, I can't imagine someone doing weddings or something like that would be interested in investing in a true dolly system. So it just goes to, what work you are in. Number 3 is these Firecrest IR&Ds. I am a huge fan of these. I do plan on at some point doing a video on these. I started collecting these at the top of the year. If you guys follow the channel, you know I'm big into filters anyways, and I am big into testing out neutral density filters, and nothing comes close to these Firecrest NDs. And in some circles, depending on what DPs you talk to or what internet forums you read, a lot of circles would put Firecrest at the top, meaning they are a pretty good industry standard neutral density filter, right? They are so clean in terms of fighting off IR pollution, right? Again, I will eventually do a video on these. I think they're so dang good. Now, here's why investing in a good set of filters is a lifelong investment, because no matter if you get to the toppy top of the DP world, you can always, add your filters to your day rate and bring those with you. I've shared here on the channel where, I've been doing BTS on some shows in the past, like the year before, and I've seen DPs bring their own filters to set. I've seen DPs bring their own rags of diffusion on set, right? These are things that DPs just like having, and they bring it with them, right? And what a lot of guys do, they'll just add the price of their filters, the rental price of the filters to their kit. So that's just something to think about. That really is a lifetime investment, especially if you're investing in really high-end NDs like these Firecrest, and especially if you get the proper industry standard size, which is 4 by 5.65, right? Now again, it's not a cheap investment, but it will be for the long haul. We're getting down to the wire here. Number 2, I'm sure you all already know. It's gonna be hard to show this one as well because I am using it right now. You probably guessed it. It is the Blackmagic 12G HDR Video Assist. I have done a slew of videos on this guy. I'm going to leave the most recent one, which I think is the better one, down in the description below for those of you that are new here. This is a killer monitor. I cannot stress enough how much it has changed the game for me in so many ways, right? Not just as a beautiful, wonderful onboard camera monitor, but also I even use it in my post workflow, right? It's funny because it's a little 5-inch screen, but here's the thing. It's 10-bit HDR, right? And I've said this before, finding a 10-bit monitor for less than $1,000, especially for onboard camera monitor that's 10-bit and HDR, it's a whale of a deal. Especially it does so much more. 2,500 nits, made out of aircraft grade aluminum. I could go on and on about it. I've done it before in the past. I'm not going to beat it over the head, but also it's a recorder, so you can get proxies out of it, right? It is just an amazing beast of a tool. I use it all the time, and every job I've ever been on, I always get a compliment on it. It doesn't matter who it's from. Someone from the crew, the first AC, another camera operator, the director, the producers, the clients. Everybody loves this 12G HDR Video Assist. It's just been time after time a beautiful return investment. And just in a daily workflow alone, just for the high nit brightness of it, being able to see in crazy situations, especially on the documentary. I took it with me, I used it every day on the C500 Mark II. I mean, it's a beautiful tool, right? Instant playback is wonderful. I could go on and on of all the benefits, but I've already done it in the latest video that we did in the middle of the year. And again, I would recommend you check that out. But that is definitely a gift that keeps on giving. Okay, so the last one I'm sure you all know is this bad boy right here, the red Komodo. Now I'm going to tell you why. And a lot of people, it's going to get weird here because a lot of people are going to be disgruntled by this or not agree with what I'm saying, but facts are facts. I finally got this bad boy in my hands in September of this year, right? Almost instantly, I started booking jobs with it, but there was one very big client that I got the first interview because I was a red owner. Now I know, like I said, this is going to be a controversial topic, but this is what I talked about back in the unboxing video that I did, that this is a reality. This is a reality that I've known just as a result of working full-time in the film industry for 11 years, right? So, 3 years I've only been doing camera, but prior to that, I've been working in the film industry in all different areas, primarily as an actor, but it's just a stigma. It's just known, right? There are certain brands there's a certain culture to these brands within the filmmaking community that people that are outside of the filmmaking community just know, right? Red just happens to be one of those brands. So when you're talking about commercial clients, producers and those folks, they don't really know a whole lot about camera stuff the way that you and I know about camera stuff. But one thing you can guarantee they do know the name of is Red, right? Red Digital Cinema have established a reputation for themselves. And as a result of that, there are clients that just want that on their sets. So I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, because it happened, that I have already booked jobs because of owning this camera. Even the lowest affordable option, Red, still got in there. That got me the interview, right? But then on top of that, me as a person and everything I know and just my experience of working on all levels of sets for 11 years, all of that stuff combined, who I am, my portfolio, the way I represent myself, that eventually got me the job, right? But the Red actually is what got me in the door. And I will tell you, I know this because on the very first phone interview, the director told me the client doesn't know much right now. All they know is they want a Red. After that, it was smooth sailing. If you want to know more details on that, that's the kind of stuff we talk about. We do dive into business side of things over on the Dog Times Productions community. And I know that, from this level, it doesn't look like I know a whole lot about what I'm talking about, but that's because I've only been practicing cinematography for 3 years. My biggest strong suit that I bring to all the sets I've ever been on is my experience of working in the film industry for over a decade. That is really, people are really into that. They love having a well-rounded camera guy. So if that's something you're interested in hearing more about, again, it's going to be over on the Dog Times Patreon. But it is what it is, folks. I know that disgruntles and upsets people, but it's the reality of the world we live in, right? It's just the same as Nike. Nike dominates, right? There are just some brands and companies that dominate certain industries, and we cannot ignore that. And also, it's not... That isn't even the whole reason why I invested in this camera. And I go over all of that in the unboxing video. I'll have a link to it down in the description below. Because I do want to point out that I am in no way, shape, or form a Red fanboy. One, because I have totally exiled myself from all of those groups, right? And I'm sure if a lot of you have been on the channel for a while, you know my attitude, you know my personality. I march to the beat of my own drum. So it's certainly not me wanting to be a part of anything, right? I love being by myself, on my own, pioneering forward, But also, I do want to do a little shameless plug and say that we will shortly be able to see the work that I'm talking about that I got hired for this Red Komodo, because those commercials will be out after December 28th. So I'm super excited about it. We'll be able to take a peek at it. And again, if you're sitting there going, how the hell did this guy book stuff that is airing? Again, I reveal all of it over on the Dog Times Patreon. Okay, so I hope everyone is having an amazing year. I suggest you do the same. Sit down at your desk and look at all the gear that you invested in this year and say, what is bringing me the most return on these investments, and what is the gear that isn't really making me money? And it may be time to throw some stuff over there on the Facebook market and make a little bit of extra cash going strong into 2021. All right, so if you're new here, I would encourage you to tap that subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
All right.